like in the 2 classes back, we discussed Karma Yoga and then Express Yoga Ladder. And last class, we were discussing about the karma theory itself, like what is karma, what are the different types of karmas. So I will just recap because I know few of you missed last couple of classes, and so it's better we just quickly refresh or go through those things. So let me share my screen again. And you can always go back and check the recordings, because all of this content classes are getting recorded and uploaded to YouTube. So anytime you can go back and watch that recording. Okay. Om Jnanam Timanandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Gadamayam Dadadi Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadudam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenbandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Yeshabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण कृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य शतारिणे। Jai. So we are doing chapter 3. The chapter title is Karma Yoga. So we discussed what is karma in yoga. Karma is action. Like the soul's nature is that it is always active. And because soul is always active and we are soul, so we are always active. Nobody can say he's not active. Like those who even try to renunciate work thinking that they can stop their senses, that's also not possible because your mind is still going. Okay. So, and yoga means, the word yoga means uniting with the Supreme Lord. So that's the meaning, that's the ultimate purpose of yoga, to unite the soul with the super soul. Okay. What we understand today with yoga, what general mass understands is those physical asanas, like that has been become popular all over world. Thanks to India, like we have this yoga day, but that is just one aspect of the entire yoga, right? It's a part of Ashtanga yoga, that asana thing, like pranayam, asanas, all that. But it's just the aspect of yoga. But the main goal of doing any yoga is to unite the soul with the super soul, connect the soul with the super soul. That's why we have karma yoga, we have dhyan yoga, we have Ashtanga yoga, we have buddhi yoga and bhakti yoga. Like there are different yogas, right? But all of their purpose is to connect the soul with the super soul. So atma ko paramatma se milana hai. Atma, the soul's nature is that it can only be happy when it is in contact with the super soul. Same way, like a small child, let's say six days child will only be happy when he is in contact with his mother, right? If you take him away from mother, he will cry. He will not be happy. Or if you take the fish who is in the water and put it in a nice big palace, fish will not be happy. She will die because that's her natural tendency to be in the water. Same way, soul's natural position, constitutional position or tendency to be always in the service of the super soul. And that's the natural position where the soul derives the lot of happiness. That's why you will see when devotees or people who are pious attends anything spiritually, you will feel a different sense of different happiness, which you will not get by doing anything materially in the world, right? So that's the difference. The material happiness is only flickering and temporary. And the more you try to enjoy the material things, the happiness decreases. But in the spirituality, the happiness is everlasting and it's not flickering. And the more you do spiritual activities, it keeps increasing. That's the main difference between enjoying material things and spiritual. So material is always cause of misery, because you cannot enjoy beyond a point, and whatever little enjoyment you get is also very temporary, and it doesn't last. Okay, so this chapter 3 actually starts with a very good question from Arjun, where he asked to Krishna that, why do you want to engage me in this warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? Okay, so he was thinking that because in the last chapter Krishna spoke about different paths, and then here Arjun was kind of bewildered, and then he says, my intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instruction, therefore please tell me which is most beneficial for me. Okay, so let me just go. You can see my slides, right? Yes.
Yes, we can see, Prabhu.
Okay, so quickly we'll just discuss the main themes of this chapter 3. So first theme was be renunciation on work. Like Arjun was asking whether I should renounce this world and just go in a forest and just sit and meditate, or I should be engaged in work. So this is the lack of understanding, and by this he was also showing uh, how people has lack of understanding, where they don't understand real renunciation on work. So these are not opposed to each other. The real renunciation is that you keep working, but you are not attached to your work, or the fruits of the work. You give all your fruits of the work for the satisfaction of the Lord, and you do your work as a matter of duty, okay, without getting attached to either the fruits or the work itself, but you keep doing your duty, and then do it for the pleasure of the Lord. That's Bhakti Yoga. So then Lord Krishna talks about different yoga, like Karma Yoga. Like there are different sections like Nishkam Karma Yoga, Sakam Karma Yoga, then there is Karma Kand to Karma Yoga. All this he explained in this whole chapter, and at the end he explains about the enemies of the soul, like lust and anger are the two enemies, or they can cause the downfall of a person who is following this path. So he also cautions Arjun that be aware of lust and anger. Okay. So then we discussed, I think this is in last class, 2 class back, about the yoga ladder, because in the society you will see different people are following different things. Like some is maybe following Ashtanga yoga path, some meditation. All of you have seen, right? So how all of that comes together, we have to understand, so that we know what others are following and what we are following, and how they are related to each other, and what's the progressive path. So this is the yoga ladder. Basically, it's a ladder. Like if you have seen the ladder, all of us have. So there are steps. So some may be at the lower step, some may be at the middle, some may be at the topmost step. Okay. So there is progressive yoga ladder, extended yoga ladder, and then express elevator of Bhakti Yoga. So we discussed in the past that at the bottom, if someone is kind of atheist, or he denies the existence of God, or does not do anything, then he's no better than an animal. Okay, so he's just simply leading an animal life and kind of wasting his human form which is given to him. Because the only thing which differentiates humans from animal is the intelligence, that we have given this intelligence to use this human body in the service, to connect with the soul, with the super soul, right? That's how this yoga, that's why Lord Krishna spoke of Bhagavad Gita for the benefit of human society. Like animals cannot understand Bhagavad Gita, no matter how hard we can try. And same in one of the verses, if Krishna talks about that, if you have too much opulence, then also it's very difficult to understand, because it's difficult. So even the Devi Devtas, or the citizens of denizens of the heavenly kingdom, for them also it's difficult to follow. So main audience for Bhagavad Gita is humans. Okay. So we discussed that if we take the express elevator of Bhakti Yoga, then we directly we basically skip or directly go to the topmost yoga system, because we start, if we are not doing anything animal life, but then when we come in contact with devotees, then we understand the message of Bhagavad Gita, and then we associate with the devotees, and then we understand the process of surrender. And then we start directly with Bhakti Yoga, starting with Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, Prem Bhakti. Okay. Once someone reaches at the stage of Bhava or Prem, that's the higher stages of Bhakti Yoga. He always thinks about the Lord at this stage of Bhava and Prema reveals everything within his heart. So within his heart, he will be able to take the darshan of the Lord. He will be able to see the leelas of the Lord. He doesn't have to go anywhere. Within the heart itself, everything is revealed by the Lord at this stages of Bhava and Prema. And one becomes eligible to associate with the Lord face to face and go back to the spiritual world and engage with the Lord in one of the rasas, one of the relationships. Okay, so this is the express elevator. Basically, you don't have to go through all the stages of yoga and directly you go and practice Bhakti Yoga, because all other yoga paths also culminate in Bhakti Yoga. But it's just that the people have to spend lifetimes after lifetimes practicing. For example, in the progressive yoga ladder, one starts with animal life, then do Karma Kand. Karma Kand is basically rituals which we do with the motive of removing the obstacles, material obstacles. For example, someone is not getting a job, so he go to the temple, and then the priest will say, okay, you do this yajna, you wear this stone, you do this, all that, and that may help you. So the motive here is that I want to get rid of my problems. So that is the motive of Karma Kand, that you are doing anything with the motive of getting something in return. That's called fruitive work, Karma Kandi. Okay, so here is the performing activities for fruitive gains. But it's better than animal life not doing anything, because at least you are one step higher and getting connected with something related to the Lord. And many of the Karma Kandis worship the Devi Devtas, because Devi Devtas becomes obliged to give you, if you do certain yajnas in a proper way, they become obliged to award you the result. Okay, but again, this is more of a bhakti for bhakti yogas or the devotees. It's a lower platform, because we want to do nishkam, like without any motive, unmotivated, uninterrupted bhakti. That's what attracts Lord Krishna. When someone approaches him without any motive, uh, and without any hidden motive or anything, that's what attracts, like the bhakti which gopis of Vrindavan did. Like even if someone asks their life, they are ready to give their life for Krishna. So, but Karma Kand, we discussed that it purifies the practitioner in many ways, and it is basically meant to bring the general mass of people at least to the platform of religiosity. Because if you are not doing anything, you are basically animal. So at least it's one step higher. It brings them to the platform of religiosity, and then in future births, they may be able to practice higher stages. Okay, then next was the Sakam Karma Yoga. This is part of Karma Yoga itself. Karma Yoga has two aspects. One is Sakam Karma Yoga and Nishkam Karma Yoga. Sakam means that you understand now that there is a higher goal, there is someone higher, but you still are kind of frustrated in your material life, and you try to attempts to renounce the fruits of labor, but you are still attached. So you are doing and worshipping Lord with the motive of having some material desires. That means Sakam. Kam means you have desires. Sa means some desires are there. So you have certain desires, material desires, which are still lingering on, and you're trying to renounce the fruits, because now at this stage you understand the concepts of that Sakam, like there is something higher than this, but you are still not able to do that. So there is attachment to the fruits. That's Sakam. And then Nishkam Karma Yoga is that you gives up the attachment to the fruits of work. Like you understand, I will do this work just as a like there are certain people who believes in doing good, just do good to the society, and but they are not attached to the fruits, but they are still attached to the work itself, right? And in both Sakam Karma Yoga and Nishkam Karma Yoga, there is still they are not at that stage where they are able to worship Lord Krishna, I think, considering them to be supreme. So they are basically at the good, you can say, goodness level. So you may have seen in the people, some society philanthropists, for example, they just open some orphanages or give food to the poor. All these are under Nishkam Karma Yoga, meaning you are basically um, giving up the fruits, but you are still attached. And someone may open the hospital, but they want their name. You would have seen many times people want their name or their parents' name to be highlighted in the name of the hospital or temple. So this is basically you are doing a good work, but you have some motive that you want name and fame, right? So that's Sakam Karma Yoga. So Nishkam is you are not attached to the fruits because you understand there is higher thing, but you are still attached to the work. Okay. And then Gyan Yoga is basically the platform of philosophical inquiry, where you try to understand the Lord by your philosophy, by your intelligence. So of Gyan Yogi basically just tries to read everything, and then, but he in practice, he has not done anything in practice yet, but he's reading, and trying to understand everything by his material minds. So sometimes Gyan Yogi acquires too much knowledge, but he does not put it into practice, though that knowledge remains as a theoretical knowledge only, but he hasn't tasted. For example, if I tell someone, like someone knows the recipe of how to make halwa, but he hasn't tasted halwa. So he will be able to tell, okay, you do this, but then he is missing the point of how does it taste. The same is the case with Gyan Yogi. He may acquire a lot of knowledge, but he hasn't put into practice. That's why he doesn't taste the nectar which comes out of that. Okay. And then there is another yoga practice, Ashtanga. So this is all, you see, ladder. Karmakand, Sakam, Nishkam Karma Yoga. And then in the extended ladder, after Nishkam, you have Gyan Yoga and then Ashtanga Yoga. And further, once you mature, then it goes to Bhakti Yoga. All the yoga ladders culminates in Bhakti Yoga. But this express yoga ladder, we directly go to Bhakti Yoga. We don't need to actually practice all these ladders, Karmakand, Sakam, Nishkam, directly practice. But express yoga ladder requires the mercy of Bhakti Devi, because there is a Devi who is responsible to bestow this mercy on specific individual, the mercy of practicing bhakti. So she chooses the right candidate or someone who has certain bhakti unmukhi sukriti, meaning the sukriti which is required to practice bhakti yoga in previous life. So she is the one who bestows this mercy and brings that person in contact with one of the aspects of bhakti, like either with the devotees or with the books or with prasadam, like something or the other, one gets connected. Okay, that's how most of us gets connected. And even practicing bhakti yoga, like either the very high elevated bhakti yoga saint, or with books or anything. But it is the mercy of Bhakti Devi and Krishna which allows one to directly practice bhakti yoga and escape all this yoga ladder. Otherwise, it takes lifetimes after lifetimes to reach to the stage of bhakti yoga. It's mentioned in scriptures. If someone is practicing bhakti yoga, means he has already done all of other stuff, other things which are mentioned in Shastras. Like all of this is considered to be already done. He does not need to practice any of this. Okay. So Ashtanga Yoga, I say, like when we do yoga with meditation, you may have seen many individuals or many people preaches this Ashtanga Yoga meditation, where you just sit down and meditate. But the actual purpose of Ashtanga Yoga is also to meditate not on the void or some light or any random object, but to meditate on the Archa Vigraha or the deity of Lord Krishna, right? So either you sit in the front of deities and meditate, or once you close your eyes, you will be able to visualize that deity within your heart, and then you just keep meditating. right? That is the purpose, but it's not for this age. Ashtanga yoga is not for this age, because just meditating for half an hour, 45 minutes does not do any good to the yogi. All it does is just bring some calmness and peace and maybe some sense control, and that's all. Ashtanga yoga was the preferred yoga method in the age of Satyuga, when people lifetime for 100,000 years. Then yogis used to meditate for several thousand years, and then they were achieving perfection. Just by doing meditation for 30-40 minutes don't bring anything. That's why in this age it's very difficult to practice Ashtanga yoga. And it's called Ashtanga yoga because there are 8 limbs of it: yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. So the highest stage of Ashtanga yoga is when one reaches the stage of samadhi, where he goes into transcendence and then he fixes his mind and completely in the Lord. And that stage, he does not need any external things to basically keep up his body. Sometimes you may have seen there are many elevated yogis in Himalayas or all. They are just meditating for several years. So, okay. But the one thing which is again missing in Ashtanga yoga is the relationship with the Lord. Like yogis may reach higher stages of even samadhi, but they are missing that relationship with Lord, right? Either relationship, friendship, or relationship of servant or parent. So unless you have a relationship, then your love for Lord will not be reawakened. That love, dormant love, can only be reawakened by the process of Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is the topmost stage, where it basically goes beyond these stages of karma yoga, karma kand, ashtanga yoga, dhyan yoga, all that, and directly goes Bhakti Yoga. And this stage of Bhakti Yoga, one understands that he's part and parcel of the Lord. He understands his position. He understands that Supreme Lord is Lord Krishna, and then he's basically still simply working exclusively for Krishna, and he also preaches this message to others. And then he surrenders all his work. And he basically follows the whatever is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Like after chapter 7 or chapter 8, Krishna exclusively talks only about Bhakti Yoga. Like initially he tells Arjun all different paths, but then he says, okay, Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate. And he then exclusively talks from chapter 7, 8 onwards about the Bhakti aspect only till 80. Okay, so at this stage of Bhakti Yoga, one understands and surrenders all his work to Krishna with full knowledge of me, without desire for profit, no claim of proprietorship, and he's free from lethargy. So this is the one verse in 330, which basically discusses about the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. So this is all we discussed in last class. I think that class only Madhav Prabhu and Deepti ji were there. So I just did a quick recap about different terminologies which you may encounter when you study Karma Yoga part. So these are the different terms. Okay. Any questions so far? Are you with me?
Prabhuji, I have one question. It's not a question, but I just have one thing to explain.
Yes.
As I was reading online, the same text, and one of the texts that I found was like your action, your duty even is to offer the feast food or the food at home which you make also before serving. You should be offering to the Lord Krishna, because even it says in one of the texts that even if you don't do that, that's like a sin, and you
Yes.
are eating the sin. You are actually
Exactly.
eating the sin, because everything is given to us. It is by the Lord Krishna.
Lord.
So
Yes.
we have to make sure that we also, as much as possible, we try to offer the food before we make it. Before we eat, before we should serve, we should offer to the Lord Krishna.
That's true. And we haven't discussed that aspect yet. I was planning to do it today. So yeah, it's good that you brought up, because many people do not understand why it's very essential to offer everything what we eat to Lord Krishna first. So I will
Yeah.
mention that now, and I have that verse also. I will go through that verse.
Thank you, Prabhuji, because that is kind of like your action, and your action
Yes,
is showing your intelligence, and your intelligence is coming through the Lord Krishna. So when you are
yes,
doing, even the offering, that itself is an action, and that has to be very clean and clear from your pure heart. That is the
yes,
reason why we have to do
yes,
this.
yes, yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, so now in the last class we discussed about the aspect of karma. So this is, I was talking about karma yoga, but karma itself has three karmas. Like you may have heard pap and punya. Like the karmas which are not in accordance with our shastras, scriptures, are called pap, meaning sin. In English, it's called sin. Hindi called pap. And the karmas which are in accordance with the shastras are called punya. But punya pap is both on the material level. Understand this thing, that both are material. It will give you the material reaction. All of us have heard this term called every action has a equal and opposite reaction. It's a Newton's third law, but it is coming from our shastras only. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So whatever we do in the life, everything has a reaction. Now, some reactions we may be getting in this life, some maybe in future life, some maybe very late in the life, like in future lives. Nobody can say when I will bear the fruits or when I have to suffer the results of my karma. So yes, last class I mentioned about the destiny. What is the destiny? How the destiny is built? And so destiny in Sanskrit is also mentioned as our prarabdha. Many of you have heard this term prarabdha. So when one soul comes into the existence and takes the human birth, at that moment, his destiny is pretty much defined. 6 things are fixed, meaning his time of birth, based on the time of birth, time of going also decided, like when the person will leave this material world. So all of us have given a specific time period or duration which we are living on this material earth, and that time period is calculated based on the number of breaths we take. Every second we are breathing, right? So it's that accurate that you cannot take a breath more than what you are allotted for. Okay, so it's that precise. So birth, death fixed. Then your happiness and distress, again, material happiness, material distress, sukh dukh is also fixed. What job you will do, who will be your spouse, how many children you will have, what material affection things you will earn in the life, house, car, this, that, all that thing is fixed. Even you cannot enjoy an iota of extra happiness than what is given or allotted in your quota. It's mentioned in Shastras. You cannot, right? So there is no purpose of working like a donkey or ass so hard for material, because it's mentioned in Shastras, the way we never ask for any dukh. Nobody asks, okay, Lord, give me dukh, but it comes automatically, right? Similarly, the way distress comes in our life automatically, same way sukh also comes automatically in our life. We don't have to endeavor. All we have to do is just eat. For example, if I just bring a plate of food in front of you, all you have to do is just eat. Take your out in your hand and put the food in the mouth, and you'll get satisfaction, right? So nobody has to endeavor hard for getting sukh. And we can easily take the example of whole creation. Like animals do not have to suffer, like for food at least, because ultimately Lord Krishna and the mother nature under the direction of Lord Krishna is taking care of everyone. So sometimes we think that if I am not here, what will happen to my family and what will happen to this, that. It's not. We are just a medium. Lord Krishna is using as medium to do certain things. So at the material level, is the Lord who is basically fulfilling the needs of all the living entities, not just human, but all animals, everyone. Okay. So sukh dukh is more or less fixed. You cannot enjoy more than what you are deserved for. And then respect and honor and dishonor, like which is called honor, how much honor you will get in the society, which influential positions you will acquire. All that is also more or less fixed. Who will basically disrespect you and harm you, because these are all based on karmas. So when anyone in our life causes a distress to us, we have to understand this is because of our previous karmas, that person is the mother nature through the medium of that person is causing distress to us because of the bad karmas or sinful reactions of the previous life. It's not that person who is either abusing us or causing distress is bad. It's because of us only that our previous karmas are coming through the medium of that person. I can give you many pastimes of stories to say. Like there was one person, and I think he, this very recently I heard, out of enmity, he killed one of his friend because of rivalry or whatever. Now in his same life, that person who he killed, he came back and appear as his son in his life, and that son and that father, now he has a son. Naturally he has so much affection to his son, right? But that son had some terminal illness, some problem, and then the father basically is miserable because he knows that my son is gonna go die very soon. But that son remembers his past life. Somehow he has that thing. So, and then he goes away, and then father is crying for his son. And when the son is about to pass, then he tells his father that in the last life you were the only one who killed me, and in this life I came just for this purpose of making you suffer, right? So sometimes our near and dear ones like comes and gives us grief, but we have to understand that this is because of our previous karmas. So one good way of going through a bad phase in life is just pass it, like just without getting too much affected by that. Just let it go and understand that our previous sinful reactions are getting eradicated, right? Sometimes some people encounter accident or some major mishap. All this is because of our previous life karmas. So I was talking about prarabdha. So we had a big baggage of karmas, reactions of karmas, because we have been doing this karma for not just in this life, for millions and millions of lives, because we have been here in material world for so many millions and billions of years. So every form has our appearance has accumulated, we have accumulated so many karmas. So there is considered a big mountain of karmas, which is positive and negative, right? And then mother nature under the direction of Lord just takes a portion of that, and that becomes our destiny, which we have to either enjoy or suffer. So let's say there are some red balls which are sins, and green balls which are punya. So all that makes up the big baggage or mountain. Now the mother nature under the direction of Lord Krishna randomly chooses a portion of it, and then we get green balls, which is basically the sukh we will get, and red balls is the dukh. Now some people think that if I do a lot of bad things and if I do some good things, then good things can cancel bad things, but that doesn't happen. You have to suffer for bad things and you have to enjoy for good things. They don't cancel each other like that at material level. Okay, so that's what we discussed last time. Okay, so you say please repeat the 6 things fixed in life. So I'll repeat again. It's birth, death, okay, janma, mrityu. Then third is sukh, dukh, and these are all material, meaning happiness and distress. This is number 4. And last is honor and dishonor, meaning like respect and then you sometimes face disrespect also, right? Sometimes you may have seen the children only disrespect their parents like when they grew old, or sometimes we have seen extreme where children leaves their like completely abandons their parents at the old age. This is very like very sinful on the part of children, but again this is karma involved. And then there is individual karma and collective karma. I haven't spoken, but let me spoke about it. So sometimes we see a group of people come together and then all of us suddenly suffer. For example, there is a big air crash, like now all 300 people died together. So their destiny was like that their karmas brought all of them together, and they were basically, their destiny was like they were have to die in a certain way, which is common. So Mother Nature brings them together, and then they done. Sometimes people even pay. Like I was hearing about this Titanic. All of you have heard that Titanic was a ship which was designed that it will never sink. People paid enormous price, and in those days, early 1900s, to get the ticket of that Titanic ship, and all of them boarded Titanic ship. And there was one family who, I think in their family, someone fall ill, and they, even though they have ticket, but they could not board the ship. So they were very, very, you can say, morose and like very sad that this is the ship going, and they could not sail. And when the news came that the whole Titanic sank and all of them, most of them died, and that family knew that Lord saved them, right? Sometimes Lord saves them. If you are not supposed to die, then no matter, no power in the whole creation can make you die, like kill. But if you have to die when your time comes, no one can basically save you. That's the thing. So we have to be fearless. We don't need to worry about our death. Only the people who are not prepared in their life for what it has to come in next are fearful about death. Otherwise, devotees never fear, because they are already surrendered to the Lord, and they know that my life is in the hands of the Lord. And as parents never do any bad thing for their children, Lord will not do anything bad to me, right? So they just give up everything and surrender. So they are not worried. Only people who are worried is who have not planned for the next life. So, and they are too much attached to their belongings here. So at the time of leaving this world, all that comes to their mind. Okay, I have this family, I have sons, I have children, I have money. What will happen? All these things, thoughts come, right? So, but all this is linked to karmas. Now we discussed, see, only thing which can eradicate the results of our previous karmas is doing devotional service. Only devotional service has that power to eradicate or completely remove all our results of previous reactions, both pious and sinful, completely. Because it's our karmas, this punya and pap is the thing which binds us to this material world. Unless this is completely vanished, we cannot escape this material world and go back to the spiritual world, because we have to keep coming again and again and again in this material world to either enjoy the results of good karmas or suffer the results of bad karmas. So it's a cycle, right? Whatever we are going through now is because of past thing, but whatever we do in this life determines our future, right? So humans have given this free will by the Lord. So they have to suffer or enjoy the previous karmas, but what would be their reaction? That's in our hand. And I gave the example that two people born in the very poor family. This is because of their previous karmas, that both of them born in very poor family where they have very difficult time, like they don't have any means, and then they're struggling to even have 3 meals a day. Like sometimes people have only 1 meal. But then one person chooses that he will work hard and then become a good person, and then he studies hard. We have seen stories where in villages in India, people study under the street light, and then they become something big in the life. So this is his free will, that he uses that free will for a good cause, that even though their two conditions are same, because of previous karma, both are born in very poor family, but one person was good from the heart, and then he chooses the right path to achieve something significant in life. Other person chooses the wrong path and becomes a robber or dacoit and murderer, and then he used to rob people because he was under the poverty and he thought this is the shortcut to success. So he starts on the wrong path. So it's not that Lord Krishna is dictating that you become a robber or you become a dacoit. That is, the person is using his free will, right? Now he has to definitely suffer the results of his actions in the next life or in the next life, right? So we keep creating these reactions life after life after life after life, and that binds one to the material world. So So that is the problem statement here, that all of us are kind of bound to material world, and we keep coming back and again, and sometimes in different forms, sometimes born in India, sometimes in America, sometimes other planet, but this keeps going on. So only thing which can remove this is the Bhakti Yoga, because Bhakti has that power that it can completely remove all our sinful reactions, right? And then if our sins are removed, so, and our punyas are also removed, then what remains is just a spiritual karma, spiritual credits. And that is a third category of karma. It's called akarma. Okay, so there is, in chapter 4, there are 3 terms. Karma is just karmas, like, which is pious karma, punya. Then vikarma is impious karma or sins. So punya, pap, everyone knows, most of the world knows only that there is either punya or pap, but there is something other than these two, which is akarma, which is spiritual karmas, or any act done with the consciousness of pleasing the Supreme Lord. So that is akarma. For example, all of us today are spending 1 hour in reading Bhagavad Gita, right? This is akarma. Now you will not get any sinful reaction, or neither you will get any pious reaction for this. You will get spiritual reaction, which is spiritual credit. And this credit is eternal, like as long as it is attached with the soul, like the soul, it is eternal. Like the other punya and papa are temporary. It's because it at a material level, right? So punya meaning you do something good, but then the moment you enjoy the results of it, done. Like it's like a credit card. If there is a money, you use that money, done. Same as the sin. You do a sin and you suffer the results, then it gets neutralized. But our karma, spiritual credits are eternal. It doesn't get expired like that. And when the soul keeps acquiring these spiritual credits by practicing devotional service or bhakti yoga, then once his spiritual credits are sufficient enough, then he becomes eligible to escape from the cycle of birth and death, repeated birth and death. And he actually reaches a stage of, which many say is a liberation or moksha, or we say going back to the Bhagavad Dham, going to the spiritual world. Okay, so Lord Krishna talks about this akarma in chapter 4. And he says, intelligent person is that person who understands he says that intricacies of this karma is very difficult to understand, but one who understands these 3 things and then practice bhakti yoga is the most intelligent, because he can basically counteract the reactions of all his karmas. Abstaining from work, some people think that if I don't do anything, then neither I will be acquiring sins and neither pious credits, or because I will be just not doing anything completely. But that is not. So Krishna says here that not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. And he says that because everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Okay, so that's why I was saying that no one can refrain from doing anything. It's not me saying, it's Krishna saying that. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Sometimes people think to solve this puzzle of punya papa and escape is just to renounce everything and just sit one place and not do anything. But that's not right, because our mind still has those desires. Our senses are not purified, so they will drag one to again engage. And Krishna says that one who restrains the senses of action but whose mind still dwells on the sense objects, he's basically just he's deluding himself. Basically, he's fooling himself, and he's called a pretender. From the outside world, one may think he's a very elevated person. He's sitting at one place meditating or yogi and this, that. But unless his senses are purified or he's really at that stage, he's simply a pretender. And then Krishna later talks about that if a sincere person even tries to control the senses by mind and becomes karma yoga in Krishna consciousness, then he's far superior. He he instructs everyone to perform your prescribed duty. All of us have prescribed duty. For example, I think everyone here is a householder, grihastha. So we have a prescribed duty. We have to work. We have to make living. We have to feed our children. We have to pay bills, all that, right? So we have to work. Nobody should think that he can just escape and just, no. So perform your prescribed duty. For doing so is better than not working. Okay, one cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. So this is Krishna again saying is very, very practical. He say you cannot even maintain your body without work. So you have to work. Every one of us here have to work in material world. That is how the world is designed. Otherwise, if you don't want to work, then you take other ashrams. You have to, but in that ashram, you have to work, but for a different thing. Like there are certain people who never marry; they remain brahmachari, right? But as a brahmachari, then they work for the welfare of the society. So they are working, but instead of raising a family, they are working for the society. And after grihastha, there is Vanprastha and sannyas ashram also, where you basically renounce or kind of cultivate the renunciation. So all that he discussed, you can read this. Now I'll come to one important verse which Tejalji was referring, because as I was saying, this whole world, everyone is doing either punya pap. Very few who have the blessings of the Lord and the blessings of the devotee by their mercy, they are the only ones who get this opportunity to perform a karma or the spiritual karma or bhakti. And Krishna here talks about that. Here, text 13, right here. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sin. Why? Because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. So he talks about very important aspect of food. So whatever we eat, that's how we become. There is a saying, I think in Hindi also, Jaisa ann vaisa man, something like that. What you eat, that's what you become. So here, and then he says that the devotees of the Lord, they are released from all kinds of sin. They do not incur sin because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice or for the Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. But others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment, they are only eating sin. Okay, so knowingly or unknowingly, anyone who is not offering food before eating to the Lord is eating sin only. Now there are different categories of sin, like those who are eating non-vegetarian food, meat, they are incurring more sin because we are not supposed to eat. Like humans are not meant to eat or kill any animals, right? So Lord Krishna also do not accept, like if you have seen in yagyas or when there are puja, we never offer any food which is having non-vegetarian or anything to Lord, right? So he never accepts. And in other shastras, it's written that one who eats non-vegetarian food, Krishna does not accept any service, nothing from them. It's completely against the scriptures, like eating non-vegetarian food. Like in earlier times, at least in India, if you go back 2-3 generations back, you will see that like most of our grandparents or grandparents never even touch non-vegetarian food. They will not even go to the house of someone and take something, like drink water, who eats non-vegetarian food. That was the standard, but slowly this has come down because of the influence of the Western world. Now even India, I think 40-50% or maybe more are becoming non-vegetarian. But one thing is, all of them, their destination is destined, because it's unfortunate, but they all have to suffer and needs to go through like to go to the hellish planets. There is a special hellish planet which is designed, which is built for people who takes the life or kills the animals, right? So basically it's a sin. So my humble request, like that, to propagate this knowledge to our kids also, because in this Western world, it's very common here for kids, right? Because they go to the school, and then the school, 80-90% people, children who come are non-vegetarian. So it becomes very natural for kids to say, okay, this is okay, this is normal. And it's our duty as parents to educate them so that they don't incur sin throughout their life. Because then next life, we know like all sinful reaction will come into play, and then they have to suffer. And they may not get the human form of life again, because it's like Lord Krishna, he loves all living entities equally. So we cannot kill anyone just for the satisfaction of the tongue, right? So Lord created other food items. There are so many items in vegetarian which we are supposed to take and offer to the Lord and then take. But again, like the consciousness is important, but here it says that if we prepare food for personal sense enjoyment, then its causes a sin. It doesn't cause that much sin. Like there are grades of sin, like someone eating non-vegetarian food will inquire much greater sin than one who is eating vegetarian but still not offering to the Lord. So he will also acquire sin. So sometimes people think that I am doing all good. I am suffering. This is a result of, this is the answer to that, because unknowingly we are committing sin. So I will read this purport because it's important. The devotees of the Lord, or persons who are in Krishna consciousness, are called santas. They are the saints, and they are always in love with the Lord, as it is described in Brahma Samhita. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena shanta sadaiva hidayeshu vilokayanti. So santas, being always in a compact of love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Mukunda, Krishna, cannot accept anything without first offering to the Lord. See, that is the position of Bhakta. See, one reason is that Lord Krishna does not, but think about it. If we really, really care about the Lord, right, and being the servant, so how can we take something which is not being accepted by our Lord? हमारे जो ठाकुर जी हैं, भगवान है, when he does not accept, then as a servant, how can I accept that same thing? So that is another reason that devotees do not accept without offering first to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, such activities, devotees always perform yagnas in different modes of devotional service, Shravan, Kirtan, Smaran, Archanam, and these performances of yagnas keep them always aloof from kinds of contamination of sinful association in the material world. Others who prepare food for self or sense enjoyment, sense gratification, are not only thieves, but also the eaters of all kinds of sin. Okay. So why they are thieves? Because all this food, like, are we capable of producing our own food? No. If we do not have the fertile land, if we do not have water, if we do not have grains, then there is no possibility of having food. And who is providing this? This is all being provided by Mother Nature under the direction of Lord. So when we do not offer this to the Lord, then we become a thief, because we are having this consciousness that I am the enjoyer. I will satisfy my tongue or my senses by eating this. And by doing that, we become thief. And because this is an act of theft, and then it incurs sin. Okay. So how can a person be happy if he is both a thief and sinful? It's not possible. Therefore, in order for people to become happy in all respects, they must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtan Yagna in full Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there can be no peace or happiness in the world. Pretty clearly, Prabhupada says. So that's why we see in today's world, there is no peace. Only little peace or happiness which are there is amongst the devotees. And whatever it's mentioned that in any city, if devotees are chanting, at least that city is thriving just because of that certain handful number of devotees who are chanting and practicing. Otherwise, the situation could have been much worse. Because literally 99.9% people are just doing sinful activities, like eating non-vegetarian food or taking prohibited substances like alcohol or smoking. All these are sinful reactions, sinful sins. And here it is become very common, right, in Western world, because the society itself is kind of going sinful, right? So, but then people may not see that they are suffering now, but sometimes you will see like people get very serious diseases like heart problem, this, that, and then they give up drinking or smoking or all those when doctor tells. But there is bigger reaction waiting for them in the next life. They have to suffer more. And if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you will be very, you will think 100 times before doing any of, like Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5. There is a whole chapter on description of hellish planets, chapter 26. And it talks about there are 28 different kinds of hellish planets, and it talks about which sinful person which will go to what hellish planet and what suffering they have to suffer. So the assistance of Yamraj, Yamaduta comes and takes those sinful souls to these hellish planets, and then they are given a special body. It's called Yatana Sharir. That the beauty of that body is that it will never die, but it will give them 100 times more pain than this human body. But they will feel tremendous pain, but the body will not get destroyed, meaning it will not get burned, but they will get 100 times more misery. They become 100 times more miserable when they are burned or doing. So very chapter for those. It's an eye opener for those. I said there are 28 hells, and names are also given: Tamisra, Andha Tamishra, Raurav, Maharaurav, Kumbipak. In the Kumbipak hell, there is a big vessel like a kadhai. The size is as big as, you can say, consider whole GTA. And then there is a oil which is getting burned in that, and then people, the sinful people are just thrown in that, and they boil. So the ones who eat flesh or kills animals or do they go to Kumbipak? So like that. So there are different reactions. All of this we can escape just by chanting Hare Krishna mantra or performing devotional service, because Yamraj himself has told to Yamdutas. There is again a chapter in, let me tell you, 6. Yamraj instructs his messenger. Other day I posted the link of this chapter, and I told to just read the translations, because here Yamraj instructs that please do not go near the devotees of the Lord Krishna. If anyone is chanting the names of the Lord and wearing this kanthi mala, putting a tilak, he instructs don't even go, because these devotees are not under our jurisdiction. They are directly serving the Lord, so Lord Krishna takes care of them. And even Yamraj says that my worshipable Lord is also Lord Krishna. Okay, so this is a very good chapter to see. So we are all protected as long as we are practicing the devotional service. Yamdutas will not touch any soul who is chanting the name of Lord Hari, and they will not even come. This is the instruction which is given by their master Yamraj to them. That's why it's also very essential to wear this kanthi mala and put tilak and chant the names of Lord, like Hare Krishna mantra, or you can chant any other names, but Hare Krishna mantra has been prescribed in scriptures. It's mentioned in Kali Santarna Upanishad and other scriptures that this is the Mahamantra, which can basically bring one to the stage of, by chanting this mantra, one can become and reach to the stage of prema bhakti. Okay, so now I'll take a pause about the karma and karma yoga and the cycle of karma. Discuss a lot of things today about destiny, about prarabdha, and about the big mountain of karmas, which is called as a sanchit karma. Sanchit means when you keep accumulating. So all of us are accumulating karmas, and just by practicing this bhakti yoga, one can completely vanish all that big mountain of karmas which are piling. Because Krishna is the only one who can do that. No Devi Devta, no other personality in the whole creation has that power to pardon us for those sinful reactions or remove the reactions of those sinful things. Krishna has given that surety in chapter 18 towards the end. In 1865, it's a famous verse. Krishna gives that surety. So that 1865, yeah, 1866, sorry. where he says that abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. And then he said, I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Very important that I don't worry, I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. He said, do not fear. Because one of the reasons Arjun was saying that he's not going to fight is that he was afraid of the sinful reaction which he may acquire by killing the opposite party. But Krishna says, you are doing this for me. You are doing this for dharma, to preserve the dharma. So don't worry, I will deliver you. So whatever Krishna says, that is the dharma, right? Anything we do against his instruction is adharma, and then we have to suffer. So he is the only personality who can do this, because he's the Supreme Lord. Everything works under his direction. Other than him, no other demigod, no other Devi Devtas like Shivji, Ganesh, nobody, Indra, Surya, they cannot do anything, because all of them derive their power from Lord Krishna, and they are, as I was saying, administrator of this material nature, right? But they do not have the power to eradicate the sin. Even Yamraj do not have that power. Yamraj is given the special service of punishing the sinful people in this world. So when the sinful person leaves the body, Yamdutas come, 3 Yamdutas come, they take his soul and then take it to the Yamraj, and Yamraj, there is his chief secretary is there, Chitragupt, who has the account of everything. And then they list down everything that he do, and they can even show you a flashback if someone challenges them, like a court, right? So people can escape from the court of the country, but they cannot escape the court of Yamraj. And then they were given a specific punishment that, okay, you have to go to this hellish planet, suffer here for this much time. Once you suffer complete, and then they are put into one of the lower species, or like that. So it's very, very dangerous. So that's why Krishna says that one should practice this bhakti yoga, because that saves you one from going to the greatest danger. 241, if you want to read, I will show you where Krishna mentions this. 241. No, 240. So he's saying, in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and even a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Okay, the most dangerous type of fear is this one, which I was describing, where one falls down into the lower species and goes to the hellish planets and suffer for many, many years, right? So he says a little endeavor in this path, like even if someone cannot achieve perfection on the path of bhakti yoga, at least a little endeavor will save him from going to the hellish planets or falling into the lower species, because he will be given a chance again in next life to take human form in the family of a devotee or in the family of a pious person. That also Krishna says, that anyone who is practicing bhakti yoga, let's say, could not finish in this life. So whatever he does in this life is eternal. It does not vanish away. That's the thing which will go with him in the next life. And in the next life, he starts from the point where he stops in previous life. And he's given special opportunity, because he will be placed in a family of devotees where it's very, very favorable for him to practice, or in a family of pious brahmana, or like comfortable family where there is no other problems. So that is the benefit of practicing bhakti yoga. So next we will discuss in next class about more on this aspect of chanting, basically how Nam Kirtan, or chanting the name of the Lord, eradicates all the sinful reactions. And we'll take some verses from Bhagavad Gita, from other scriptures about the glories of chanting, so that, because this is the Yuga Dharma, this is the process which is recommended by Lord Krishna himself, and all the saints, Narad Muni, everyone recommend this process. So then we have to understand and see the benefits of this process of chanting, and glorify that, and then also understand. Okay. Any comments, questions? Now I'll stop here. Yeah. So we have now 9 participants today. Oh, wonderful. Anything which you find useful? Yes.
Yeah. Prabhu, I have a quick question. I mean, what activities are considered as devotional services? For example,
Yes.
One devotee might be, listening to Bhagavad Gita as
Mm.
like we did, right? Or
Yes.
might be reading Bhagavad Gita on a daily basis and
Yes.
having only prasadam, which is offered to Krishna as food.
Mm.
So this is a kind of a kind of a set of activities, and as you do, there are more a set of other devotees who are actively participating in temple, like teaching Bhagavad Gita and cooking food there and cleaning and all, right?
Mm.
So in these two cases, I mean, these two kind of set of activities are considered as devotional services. I mean, there is no difference
Yes.
if
Both are devotional service. So one of the things of beauty of devotional service is it's absolute. Absolute meaning you do one thing or you do other thing, both are same. Because in spiritual world everything is absolute. In material world we have this relative things, like so for example, someone cleaning a floor of a temple and someone doing an arti or offering arti as a pujari to the Lord, in Lord's eye, in spiritual terms, it's same. They will both get same spiritual benefit because it's absolute.
no.
So
How about how
in
about a devotee not doing any activity in the temple, even though who are doing the activities for themselves? Even those activities are considered as devotional services.
uh,
For example, like you are spreading Krishna awareness consciousness
yes,
by taking classes, right?
correct. This is
They-
also,
they-
so there are 8 processes or 8 categories of devotional service. No, not 8, 9. It's called Nauda Bhakti, 9 processes of devotional service, which are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is given by Prahlad Maharaj. So Shravan, let me describe that quickly, briefly, and then we will have a class on that. Shravan is hearing. This is also a devotional service. Like I am speaking, I am doing kirtan, and you all are hearing. Shravan and kirtan. This is devotional service. Actually, devotional service starts with the process of Shravan, hearing. Because the more you hear, the more nectar go, the more you get purified from within, and you yourself will feel to do more and more. So hearing is important. Then Shravan Kirtan. Kirtan meaning reciting the names of the Lord, like Nam Kirtan, or giving a class like this. This is Kirtan. Or when you are reading yourself, that is both reading and Kirtan, because you are reading your Kirtan and you are also listening and absorbing. So Shravan and Kirtan are the two most important. If Shravan and Kirtan are strong, then third comes Smaran. Smaran means remembering. Sometimes you can simply remember the Lord. Just you read something in the morning, let's say some verse or some leela of the Lord, and during the day you just remember, and you have a time, you just remember, oh, this is a so that remembrance itself is devotional activity. See, so Shravan, Kirtan, Smaran, then Archanam. Archanam means offering ghee lamp or doing arti, all that. Archanam. Vandanam. Then Dasyam. Dasya meaning serving the Lord in the spirit of as a Dasya, servant, like the way Lord Hanuman serves Lord Ram, right, as a servant. Then Sakyam meaning serving the Lord in the spirit of friendship, like Arjun was doing Sakyam. Even this process of preaching comes under Sakyam, because we are helping, when we are preaching this message of the Lord, we are helping the Lord to propagate this message. This is Sakyam. Then Atmanivedanam, and then Vandanam, Atmanivedanam, and then that's the last, Atmanivedanam, complete surrender. So like that, there are 9 processes of devotional service, but for starting, I think hearing and chanting is very important. So if one do one process or one do all 9 process, same. There is no hard and fast rule like you have to do all 9 processes. No, even if you perfect one process and do good like properly and with full love, with full faith, same result, because it's all absolute. Absolute meaning it's difficult to describe, but in spiritual world everything is absolute. For example, Lord Krishna's all his senses are absolute, meaning he can eat from his eyes, he can see from his ears. So all his senses can perform all actions because it's all absolute. And same is the situation of living beings. I was other day reading, Prabhupada was saying, in the spiritual world, let's say there is a form, like someone wants to serve the Lord Krishna. So let's say Lord Krishna is going, and then grass is there. So grass automatically bends. And when Lord Krishna puts his step on the grass, then he feels the touch. And that the grass can again take a human form and serve Krishna again. So like that, it's all absolute there. So devotion service is all absolute. It's not relative. There is nothing superior or inferior in devotional service.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Even at your home, you can perform devotional service, because you reading Bhagavad Gita, it's devotional service. You are chanting Hare Krishna mantra, devotional service. You are performing an arti to the Lord, it's devotional service. You are teaching your children and reading Bhagavad Gita or doing kirtan, devotional service. You are offering, you are preparing food. Everyone has to feed their bodies, but when we prepare the food and offer it to the Lord, and then take honor. So imagine just eating that prasad itself is a devotional service. So every day we can do devotional service of just honoring the prasad, right? So like that, it's just a matter of changing the consciousness, with what consciousness we are doing karma or actions. And it's a slight change. When we do it anything for the pleasure of the Lord, in the service of the Lord, that becomes a devotion service. If we do with the consciousness that I will enjoy, I have to do it for myself, then it's not devotion service. That's the thing. Sometimes outwardly it will look same activity. Devotees are also eating, and the normal person is also eating. But devotees are eating the prasad, normal person are eating for their enjoyment. So devotees eating is devotion service, while a normal person eating is not devotion service. I see one question. Is volunteering a part of devotional service? Yes, volunteering anything for the service of the Lord is a devotional service. For example, when we did Rath Yatra, there were a lot of people who came for volunteer, like I will do this, I will distribute water, I will just give prasad, put prasad in the plates. So many people came forward. Okay, I will do this thing, that thing. All that is devotional service. Anything you do, I will pull the chariot. Chariot pulling is also devotional service. Even a small, whatever service we do with the motive of pleasing the Lord or in the service of Lord is a devotional service. It's a bhakti. So Lord is very, very merciful. One day I was hearing, like in the Dham, sometimes we go to the Dham, right? Vrindavan Dham, Mayapur Dham. So there someone was mentioning that when we sleep in the Dham, if we are in good consciousness, meaning throughout the day, like we are in consciousness bhakti, then sleeping also Lord consider that this person is paying me obeisances or paying me dhanvats. So we get the benefit of paying obeisances to the Lord during sleeping also. Volunteering in community not directly related to mandir. Okay, volunteering in community which is not linked with anything to Krishna comes under Nishkam Karma Yoga. That is not a devotional service. So one of the things is devotional services, it had to be some way or the other connected with the Lord Krishna. Otherwise, it becomes Nishkam Karma Yoga. And differences between these two is Nishkam Karma Yoga, or like without any connection to the Lord, it will give us the punya. It will give us pious credits, punya. But if it is connected with the Lord, then it doesn't give punya, it gives spiritual credits. There are very subtle differences, but yeah, that is how. Because see, many people distribute food to the poor, right? That is not devotional service, because they haven't offered that food to the Lord. So they prepare the food with the good intention of feeding the poor, but that's Nishkam Karma, or they will definitely get punya for that. But when we offer food, prepare the food, bhoga to the Lord, and then distribute, then it's a devotional service, because now we are basically distributing the mercy or the prasad to the Lord. That's why if you see in Rath Yatra or any other big event, devotees themselves prepare the. Other day I was saying, someone was asking me, why can't we outsource this whole thing of preparing so much food for thousands of people to some other caterers or something? We don't, because then that's not a devotional service. Here devotees takes pain and spend their own time. They prepare the prasad with love and care and offer it first to the Lord Jagannath or Lord Krishna and then distribute to all of others. Then it becomes a prasad and then it becomes a devotional service. And then everyone who took that prasad is actually doing a devotional service unknowingly. Agyat sukriti they acquire, and that makes it devotional service. While a shortcut would be that you order some caterer, he will prepare food in his restaurant, bring it on site. But the motive which that caterer is preparing food is that he will get the money, right? If we don't pay him money, will he prepare food? No. So his motive is not bhakti, his motive is to acquire, gain money out of it. And that's why it's not devotion service. While when devotees are preparing, they are not expecting anything in return. Nobody is paying them any money. So they are selflessly doing this for the pleasing the Lord, right? And pleasing the devotees of the Lord. So that's why it's a devotional service, while other action is same, that the restaurant owner also is making 4 hours to prepare food, but his intention is that I will prepare this food and give it, but I will get money out of it, right? And then he may not be the people who are preparing the food may not be the devotees, like it's. So when we prepare the food, the person who is preparing, with what consciousness it prepares, that goes in the food and that affects the person who is taking that food. Okay, that's why we have to be careful like where we are eating, because if the person who is preparing the food is having not good consciousness, then we will acquire his consciousness when we take that food. So there are subtle things involved in this preparation of food, and all these aspects are there. And so key thing is anything which is linked with the Lord Krishna or devotees is a devotional service. Anything which is not linked is not devotional service. Yeah. I hope that clarifies this.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Any other question, comment, anything? We'll discuss more in detail now, because today I did almost 45 minutes of recap, and then we touched upon this aspect of prasad and karma and all that. But next time I'm planning to discuss more about now the devotion service and how and what and how to do all that practically, basically by taking an example of someone's life, right? That's the main thing, like how we can improve our life with what we are doing. Like every one of us gets up, takes breakfast, then goes for work, and then comes back. Within that 24 hours, how we can mold our life in a way that our life, whatever we do, it becomes devotional service. That's the practical application of Bhagavad Gita. That's what Lord Krishna expects us to do. And that makes us the devotees. And it's not that devotees have certain other things, like they are from different world. It's just we have to mold our life in a way where we can always remember Krishna and never forget him, and at the same time keeps doing what we are doing. We don't have to leave anything. All we have to take is acquire and mold our life in a way where we lead a life of devotional service. And that way we will save ourselves, we'll save our families, we'll save our country, and we'll save everyone if we can basically preach this message. First we have to practice this and then preach this to others also, so that they also get benefit of it. That was the mood of all previous acharyas, like starting from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada. That was the mood they were carrying, that they want to do good to the society and at least give them an opportunity to practice bhakti yoga. Now it's another thing if person does not want to do, that's fine, but at least the innocent ones who don't know, at least they must be given an option or opportunity to understand this process and then practice this. And that is the mood with which Prabhupada started this ISKCON or this society and then created this movement. And that's why you see all these ISKCON temples, it's not just simply a temple where like we do all temple activities like daily worship and all that, but in the main essence of ISKCON is to teach and preach this message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Because somehow this link has been again not broken, but I think this has been this is a void which was created in our society, because this thing is not being taught in schools now anymore. Schools, universities, colleges, nowhere is being taught. and only few gurukuls where it's taught, but not everyone goes to gurukul, right? So then it's like it becomes the responsibility of devotees to at least introduce this knowledge to